As I mentioned in my book, attention is your sort of raw material for waking up. It's also your raw material for inquiry, your raw material for non-dual contemplations. And this is just a simple, easy, always accessible approach to working with attention. So if you're listening or watching this and you follow along, you'll get a lot more out of this than if you just listen to it from a conceptual standpoint. But follow along and kind of apply the suggestions. So first of all, just ask yourself, where is my attention right now? And then let your mind go quiet. What I mean is, when you say to yourself, where is my attention right now? I'm not suggesting that you start analyzing anything or thinking about attention or thinking about where your attention is. At first, this may be challenging for some people, like that's what happens all day long. If you would have asked me to do this when I was 20 years old, I'm sure my mind would have just immediately started thinking, like, where's my attention? Well, my attention's always here. I'm always paying attention. I'm paying attention to the world I live in, and I'm paying attention to the fact that I'm in a body, and there are things going on around me, and like there would have just been this kind of like stream of thoughts. So that's not what I'm suggesting, actually. I'm suggesting just ask, where is my attention, with curiosity, and then just look. Notice. You don't really have to look. It's already there. Where's your attention? Now, if asking this opens a kind of gap, then just stop there. That's enough. When we talk about practices, quote unquote, spiritual practices, insight practices, the number one mistake people make is they make them more complicated than they need to be. That's the first, second, and third mistake most people make. I'm sure I did the same thing. The suggestions to look a certain way, to inquire a certain way, to inquire beyond conceptuality, those suggestions are not obscure. They're not pointing to anything really obscure. They're pointing to something that's definitely in your experience already. But there's a bit of a caveat, and that is, don't analyze. Don't make it complex, because it's not complex. Realization is not complicated. Enlightenment, non-dual enlightenment, realization, anatta, these insights are not complicated. They're quite the opposite. So yeah, that's the first pitfall, is overcomplicating. So with that said, if you ask yourself, where's my attention right now? And you're able to rest in where that points you, which is back, in a sense, to yourself, or your most close sense of being, however you want to say that. That's great. Let it rest there. Notice the attention is the resting is the attention, it is the question, it is the curiosity, it is you, it is presence. It's just all the same thing. So rest in it. That's enough. If you get nothing else out of this pointing, this video, that's plenty. That can take you a long way. It can take you all the way. If you can really stay in the gap. And again, it's a gap essentially between a thought identified with and another thought identified with. So where's your attention right now? And then I'm going to add, not necessarily another question, but I want to add a bit of a framework. Not to, again, analyze, but just to give you maybe something that makes it less daunting to do this, if it's daunting. For some people, this won't be daunting. It'll be enjoyable or natural or relaxing, especially if you've meditated a lot. You have, periods of non-conceptual, pure experience, presence, and so forth. Then this will be simple, enjoyable, probably. But if it's difficult, that's okay too. Doesn't mean you can't cross over. Doesn't mean you can't shift. Doesn't mean you can't let go of the illusions. It just means you haven't started to really break the spell of thought yet. Or maybe you've started, but it's still got a tight grip. And that's okay. Practice does help. So this framework that I'm going to give you, this simple framework, is just a way of assuring you that this isn't complicated. It's also a way of setting the mind aside because there's just nothing to analyze. So the framework is simple. You have 5 sense gates and 1 cognition gate. We could say that's 6 sense gates in the way Buddhism talks about it. Right? Taste. Obviously, if you're drinking something, tasting something, eating something, drinking coffee, there's an experience of taste. Stands on its own. Smell. I don't smell anything particularly obvious in this moment. Maybe you have an exquisite sense of smell. You notice smells all the time. Maybe right now you notice a fragrance. Your own cologne, perfume, flowers in the area, incense, who knows? It's a pure experience. That's 2. Touch or sensation, body sensation. Touch a surface. Notice that sensation. Notice doesn't need a label, including sensation. Stands on its own. Sound. Well, obviously, there's some sound, the voice. Probably other sound in your vicinity. Maybe the hum of an electrical device. An air conditioner, heater, fan, traffic. Just notice it. Are you noticing it? Is your attention there? That's it. Attention's in sound. And there's one more of the 5 senses. The visual experience. This one tends to trigger the mind to label more quickly than the others, perhaps, or maybe in a more seemingly solid way at first, but it's still just data, colors, shapes, lines, and so forth. Could just call it scenery. And maybe you're looking at a screen, or maybe you're listening to this and looking around at other seeming objects in your environment, trees, buildings, cars, whatever. But is that really anything but color? I like to use the analogy of a newborn baby, or maybe a 1-week-old baby that can open its eyes and look around. Do you think it sees objects? And of course you're going to say, well, yeah, it does. It sees a bright red flash. It would notice that. But is that an object to that baby? Do you see? See how quickly we extrapolate our own experience onto others, even animals, but small humans. Oh, there's an object there for that baby. No, there isn't. There's no object, no labels. Really can't even say colors because it doesn't differentiate colors. It doesn't know what that is. It's just experiencing pure scenery. And it's not even experiencing it. It's just pure scenery. There's no self-awareness sense in that baby, certainly at a week old. It's just pure scenery. So that's the 5th sense. And then consciousness. What is consciousness? If I ask you, what thought is appearing now? And you ask yourself that. And you actually look. The space in which you are looking, or the apparent place in which you are looking, is consciousness. It's also the sense of you. If there's a sense of you being discrete somehow, being stable somehow, maybe vast, maybe infinite. Maybe it's a pure sense of I am that kind of encompasses everything, or seems to. Or maybe it's just the closest experience that can be had. That is consciousness. The closest experience, we gotta be careful how I say this. With non-dual realization, that's a little different because it's non-dimensional. But If there's a sense of a center, of a me, of a being, of a one, of a you, of an I at all, then consciousness is the sort of center of it. It's a place from which you're receiving this information, let's say. It's certainly where thoughts appear. Yeah, that's consciousness. So your attention can be in one of those 6 places. And if you can find another one, you just let me know. And this gets very clear. Like the way our conceptual mind functions, it could easily be like, well, maybe there is another space that I just haven't experienced. Or, again, it can become complex and start defining things in a fractured way. Sure, that's thought, though. Thought is if that's happening, your attention's in consciousness. One of the 6. That's it. That's all that's really happening. It's just that thought claims a lot more territory than it actually inhabits. So, yeah, when I ask, where's your attention right now? Early on in practice, early on before any kind of awakening or shift in identity, it's almost always going to be in consciousness. You might bounce into the senses, periodically touch in and bounce back out. Especially if I say, look really closely at something. Like you're trying to discern, what is that? Like reading like some characters on a wall that's not in your language or whatever, right? Or looking at something beautiful, like beautiful painting or something. You may be pretty enraptured by it. But if you notice, often there's still analysis going on. Your attention's dropping into that visual experience, briefly popping back into thought. The more you try to do non-dual contemplations, working in the sense fields, the more obvious this will get. Excuse me. So, where's your attention? And you don't even need to conclude it. Just let it be where it is. And even let it move naturally, if it does, between sense fields, which it will. Maybe you feel steeped in the body sense for a period of time. And then there's some thought randomly. Oh, well, I wonder if I should eat. Whatever. That's how this works. It's very simple. Let your attention appear where it appears. Let it be noticed. Let the simplicity of this help you to sort of build trust that you don't have to do anything complicated or mystical. Just stay here. This is presence, and it will clarify itself.